I am the Autism Waiver Service Coordinator. I've been in this role since about 2005, and the exciting news is, and the reason that I'm starting to come out and talk to people about the Autism Waiver is because just recently, parents were going to the state level and talking to all the people, the higher ups, about the long wait list for the Autism Waiver. And it was difficult to come out and talk to people about it and then say you can have all these resources, but then go on a wait list for 10 years. And, you guys have heard the spiel, and that's why a lot of people choose not to go on the wait list. So they came up with something called End the Wait. So what happened with the End the Wait process, one of the major things that happened, normally when I would get a list of children that were able to start the application process, if I got 5 names, maybe 1 would qualify. It could be that the child didn't have a diagnosis of autism. It could be that they moved out of state, they were being homeschooled, all kinds of different reasons. But I would have that list of 5 names, and it would take months for us to roll it around to get to the next list of names. So one of the things that they have done is they have taken the entire list of people that are on the wait list, and they've done some pre-screening at the state level. So what they're doing is they're making sure the child has an IEP. They're making sure they have at least 15 hours of special education in their IEP. They're making sure that they do still reside in the state of Maryland and that they're not on another waiver, and that the family still lives at the address that's listed in the state records, and doing all that pre-screening. So that took care of a lot of names. So in the last 6 months, I guess it's been about the last 6 months when all of this started going into effect, I have 6 kids that have already been approved and 9 waiting approvals. 15 new kids in this county that are now on the autism waiver within the last 6 months because of this, and most of those kids are elementary age. I was mostly getting kids 19, 18, 20, and 21 before. I wasn't getting any elementary. So this is very exciting news. It's also a very good time if you do want to get on the wait list, because they also, on top of all the stuff they did at the pre-screening level, they opened up another 1,500 slots. So they've doubled the amount of slots. They've really reduced the number of kids that are on the wait list now that should not be on the wait list, and they increased the number of slots. So first of all, I want to tell you about the things that you need to have in place in order to be eligible for the autism waiver. So first of all, it's a financial eligibility. The reason it's called a waiver is they don't look at family income at all. It's based solely on the child's income. So able accounts do not count, but like if you have bank accounts or even insurance policies, if something were to happen to the child, like a life insurance policy, if they have cash value, that goes against the amount that you can have. So you don't want to have cash value life insurance, and you don't want to have child's information, saving money in a savings or checking account, but able accounts you can. So you can't have more than $2,000 in their name. So that's one of the things. So the first thing that we would do once your name comes up that you're able to start the application process, I would meet with you and we would complete the financial application packet, and I would submit everything to the state. The next thing that needs to happen, and none of that happens until the name actually comes up and you're able to start the application process. The next thing is you have to have at least 15 hours in an IEP. So if you're in a STEP or a RISE program, you're going to have the 15 hours in the IEP. You have to have a diagnosis of autism in the child's IEP, or you have to have a current diagnosis from a medical doctor. So I know a lot of times what happens with the IEPs is sometimes it goes under ID instead of autism. And in that case, we would either want it to be specified in the IEP that it is another diagnosis. We can't use it as multiple because they're on the same line, ID and autism. But if it's referenced that the child has the diagnosis of autism, but they're using ID because that's more prevalent, it makes the most sense for that child, that would count. Otherwise, you have to have a current autism diagnosis. You have to be living in the state of Maryland, and you have to be between the age of 1 and 21. So what ends up happening for the waiver is once you're on the waiver, you can stay on that waiver until age 18, graduation, or if your child is not going for a diploma but going for certificate bound, 18 to 21 is still considered youth age in the state's mind. So between 18 and 21, adult services don't really start until age 21 through DDA. So oftentimes what happens, you go to elementary, then you would go to middle and high, then a lot of the kids go over to job development center through age 21, and you stay on the waiver through all of those years, okay? So the next thing that you need to qualify on after we would do the financial eligibility would complete a level of care with you. And that's where we look at the level of support that you need on like activities of daily living, functional level, that would be like peer interactions or social skills or communication skills, those types of things. And we look at the levels of support you need in that. The third level, well, the first is ADLs. That would be like bathing, brushing teeth, eating, toileting and bowel, all those things. Then the functional, and then the third is maladaptive behaviors, and that would be like the aggression, the, behavior stuff, things that all the way from sensory issue things to destroying property, those kinds of things. If those things are happening, level of support that's needed in each of those areas. Then that's scored, and if you qualify in 2 out of 3 areas on that, you would then, I would submit that to the state. We would come up with a plan of care. And when you receive the autism waiver, a lot of these things have changed. You can now receive up to 40 hours a week of what's called IISS, and that's intensive individual support. So that would be somebody working with your child on specific treatment plan goals that you come up with a provider, because it does have to be an autism waiver provider that provides the services. But you get 40 hours a week of that. It's in the home, it's in the home and community. So none of this happens at school. It's all home and community based, but you do have to qualify through the school system. So that's where that component comes in. So it all ties together. There's also 20 hours a week of therapeutic integration. That's like social skills group, where somebody would be working with your child like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 in a small group setting. The main provider in this area that provides that service is Arc of Washington County. It's called the Stepping Stones program. They take the children, oftentimes they'll pick them up from school and take them out there and work with them a couple hours after school and then bring them home. There's also respite, that's just babysitting, giving you a break, giving you a little bit of time to take a breather. And then there's also family consultation. That's basically what it sounds like. It would be somebody working with you guys as parents. Oftentimes you don't even realize how much your children have you trained and you just kind of do. Some of the examples are, some parents will just say, I've just always done it. It's just so much easier than having to go through, the steps of everything that I have to do. I'm exhausted, and so just having somebody to just say, hey, if we try this or we try that, or I've had kids that you would have never thought were going to be potty trained and have been potty trained. They're no longer in diapers. It's just helpful to have that family consultant work with you on those types of goals. There's also environmental adaptation. That's a slot of money where, let's just say there's something in the house. It could be needing locks, high up locks on doors or locks on cupboards, or used to be a fence in the yard. Now it's a gate, maybe, because it's like $2,000 and it just doesn't cover as much anymore. But it could be anything that's going to help the house be safer for your child. It can't just be a cosmetic thing. It has to be something that's going to be a safety issue, and so they will give funds towards that as well. I know that I'm giving you a lot of information. It's a lot to take in all at once. The biggest thing that I just want to let you know is, like, these services are out there. This is a program that doesn't appear to be going away. It only appears to be growing. So if it's something that you think that you would be interested in, the most important thing is to get on the wait list. And the wait list, they've even changed that. It used to be I could have called up and said, I want to be on the wait list, put my name on the wait list. Now they do a screening when you call. They're going to ask you name, birth. They're going to ask you, can you confirm your child has a diagnosis of autism? So you actually have to have that diagnosis to get on the list now. And that they have the 15 hours on their IEP, and that, so they're screening all of that to even get on the list. And that's huge, because that did not used to happen. And that's how the list got so big and so long. So I just want to encourage you, if this sounds like a program that you would be interested in, they have increased the hours to 40. And the other thing that they have done is, because staffing is an issue everywhere. It's an issue everywhere you go at this point, to find people to be able to work. Something that they have even started doing is, if you're not able to find staff, or if it's something that you would like to be able to be trained, you can even be paid that 40 hours a week to work with your child with the treatment plan. And I've seen amazing things happen when you have a parent that's actually following the plan, and somebody saying, hey, let's try this, let's try some different things. And then they're following it, writing up notes on it, where lots of progress can be made. So that's something that's new as well. Would happen when, parents had to stay home over COVID. We didn't have anybody to provide these services. They started allowing parents to do it and saw that it was really working. And so, and let's face it, it's hard to hold down a job and take care of all the needs of a child with autism, especially when you have severe cases. And so it's really been a win-win situation across the state. So I know that I've gone over lots of stuff. That the main thing that I want to tell you guys about is this middle section right here, where it says Autism Waiver Waitlist, and there's a phone number there, and it tells you the different things they're going to ask you. That's the first step, because this doesn't go on need. This goes on whoever calls first is next in line. You can't move up the list because you have a more severe case. It's not subjective like that at all. It's even time and date stamped when you call, and they take the referral. So, questions, and there's no dumb question.
I probably applied, got put on a wait list maybe like 2-3 months ago. How long is a wait list?
Okay, I don't.
Time difference from before when they had that long wait list,
right,
versus now.
Okay, so you would be able to call this number and ask them, hey, I applied on such and such day. Can you tell me what number I am on the wait list? And again, don't allow that to discourage you if it sounds like you're way down or whatever, because they're moving through the list. It is. It is.
But you can call the number and they can tell you.
Yes, and if they cannot, you feel free to call me, and I will see if there's someone that I can contact and do that as well. There's a number on the back. It says Washington County, and it's the 301-766-8222. Okay. That's the office number. Now, that's not going to go directly to my line, but the person that answers that would be able to get me, or she'll give you my cell phone number whenever you do call if I'm not in the office. So you can just reach out that. Yes.
So the registration has to be on this phone number.
So you need to call this 866 number right here to register. And they're going to ask you these questions here. They're going to say, they're going to.
She was asking if that was the case, or she could do it for you.
Yes, unfortunately, they do it all at the state level because this is a statewide waiver. So let's just say right now you're in Washington County and you call and you have, you put your child on the wait list. If you move, if there's any changes to any of the information, you want to call and update the list and let them know that. I mean, I try to track people down and follow them through their IEP, but it's not always easy. And another huge thing that they did is there's now time stamps on everything. So from when you get this letter, you have to turn in that application within 45 days. They're not letting you wait 6 months and a year where you're holding up that slot for somebody that really wants it. The other thing is, if you're on the autism waiver, you have to at least get services monthly. Like, they're not, because one of the things that comes along with the autism waiver is you get a medical card. And they don't want people just using the medical card for their doctor visits and things like that. They want them, because the waiver, that's how your services are paid for, is through the medical card. And if you don't have a medical card currently for your child, one of the things that can assist with also are diapers, if your child is still in diapers. And that can be a very helpful expense as well if you don't have a medical card and then you get one. So Yes. Yes.
All right, so if we currently have our child enrolled with the ABA company
Yes.
in pediatric movement,
Yes.
speech,
Yes.
and for occupational,
Yes.
would that stop, or is that in addition to?
Okay, so what is happening right now, there are some new families that are coming on. And again, I never had elementary families before. For like at least 18 years, I haven't had an elementary student. So what's happening is when they're coming on, they're like, hey, we already have some services in place. What some of those parents are choosing to do, of course, you can continue with pediatric movement and all of those things. But the ABA program that some people have, what they're choosing to do is continue some of the ABA with what they have established because they're happy with that service. And then they're developing an autism waiver plan with family consultant, and then the parent is implementing the ABA at home. You know what I'm saying? So they can't be done at the same time, though. That would be double billing. But you could still continue if you have services in place that you're happy with and you want to do. The other thing that I'm really hoping that can maybe happen at some point, sounds like there's some people really happy with some of their ABA programs that I can talk with the provider liaison at the state level to start reaching out to some of these providers that people are utilizing and saying, hey, would you be interested in becoming a waiver provider, because we could really use some in this area. The only local provider we have is the ARC of Washington County, but then there are several providers that hire outside. They're located outside of the county, but they hire inside the county and they manage the staff that way. So, yeah.
And the other question I had was the diagnosis. Is that okay from another state? Like they used to live in Virginia.
Okay.
I mean, does that cross lines with the diagnosis from the University of Virginia?
No, as long as it's current.
Okay.
Okay, you know, as long as it's a current diagnosis. And like I said, the other thing that you may want to also look at is if in the IEP, what's the diagnosis on the IEP? Do you know?
I believe it's autism.
Then you're fine. Yeah. As long as the diagnosis of autism on the IEP, you're fine. You don't have to have it listed anywhere else because that's a current diagnosis that's updated yearly through the IEP meetings. And that's a team decision, so yeah. How about anybody else? And I wish I could give you exact numbers on what the wait list is now. I really don't know, but I just know that, you know, it has significantly gotten smaller. And even the person that I just met with recently and said, I know you've been waiting a long time. They said, I've only been waiting 3 years, which I know that sounds like a long time, but to me, I mean, going from 8 and 9 years to going to 3 years. And like I said, we have more coming out. And then you have all those kids that are going to be aging out that have been on it since the beginning. So it should be moving. And, you know, but again, I wish there was no wait, but of course there is. But, you know, at least it's more hopeful than it was before. Do you have any questions about the services or about the requirements in order to be able to be on the waiver? And if you would move from this county to another county, the waiver would continue. You would just get a different service. I do the service coordination for Washington County, but it would just transfer to whatever county you go to. So as long as it's the state of Maryland. So, okay. Any other questions? If you think of anything after the meeting, feel free to call the number on the back where it says the Washington and has the phone number. Also, I can give you my email if you would like that. It's B as in boy, ERS. So it's the first 5 of my last name, which is Ebersol. So EBERSCAR. And then it's that big WCPS thing at wcps.k12.md.us. Yeah. And if you lose any of this information, you have any questions, feel free to let Colleen, I don't know her last name, Miss Eileen, let her know, and she can reach out to me as well, and I will be in touch with you. I'm here to answer any and all questions that you may have and help you out with this process. Okay? Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll be working with you in the near future.